does not having the results and having them come in later with counting mail-in voting, does that stress you out at all? Do you think it's ripe with fraud? Are you concerned about this?
It doesn't stress me, but I think you said a thing that's really worth emphasizing. When a TV channel calls an election, that doesn't mean they're done counting. It just means that the beanhead statisticians that work for the TV channels have figured out that it's far enough apart that there's no way.
My dad was a statistician.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. Ooh, I hope he's not watching this. Right? But so it's really important to say that when a TV channel or when the news media or whoever calls an election for somebody, that doesn't mean the counting is done. It just means that statistically they don't think there's any chance the other guy will catch up.
Right. And, it used to be, and they backed off this. They were more careful, I thought, last night, because it used to be there'd be a race to announce, and CNN is the first, or Fox is the first, and blah, blah, blah. And there was this competition, and then they overstepped their bounds in 2000, maybe other times as well, but certainly in that election.
Right, well, Dewey beats Truman, right? The famous headline where Truman's holding up the newspaper headline that says Dewey beats Truman, when in fact he won. That's the same thing, but with a little bit older technology.
Right. And yep. So, and especially these where it's close, and all these votes need to be counted. We already, with the electoral college system we have, it's it's already people already don't vote and don't get as engaged in the process because they think their vote doesn't matter, because it's only up to Pennsylvania or only up to this state or this state because of this anachronistic, and I'm going to tell you what that means later, but that anachronistic electoral college system that we have already gets people a little not as excited. Now, we've had a great turnout this year, and everybody was engaged this year, which is fantastic. But I think not counting ballots that are mail-in, it's not. I think it violates the Constitution because you have a right to vote. I think it's the wrong from trying to encourage our electoral system. It's bullshit, and it's just.
But I think we all feel that temptation. You're rooting for your team, right? I mean, it's no different than the kind of the feeling almost you get with sports. And
you don't you don't want overtime.
Right. You don't want overtime, and you want to use, everybody wants to get the detailed explanation of what the ref has to say, and they want to use the rules in any little way that will help their team. And sometimes they lose sight of the fact that everybody needs to vote. That it's a fundamental principle of who we are and what we do. And you'll see that going both ways. There's been times you're like, well, that's not so important because all those guys are going to vote for the other guy anyway. And we need to be really dedicated and say, absent whichever side it benefits or hurts, the principle that everybody gets to vote, when in doubt, the default is figure out a way to let everyone's voice be heard. And that's if I agree with that voice or if I disagree with that voice.
Right. You have to guard against voter fraud too, but we've seen the level of incidence of that is not high compared to the worrying about disenfranchising people.
Like all things, it's a balancing act, and you have to make sure you put the balance in the right place.
Yeah, you think people make short-sighted, near-term decisions in American politics about this stuff rather than stepping back and thinking about the big picture? Is that you're laughing while I've even asking the question?
A politician make a short-term decision? No,
that's
never happened.
The next 4 years, because isn't that the definition of deficit spending? Why should I? It's hard to balance the budget. It's hard to be fiscally responsible because you got to tighten your belt and you can't give tax breaks and can't build roads and can't do stuff. So that's why it never happens, is no one wants to go up there and say, I'm going to raise your taxes and keep all the money and pay banks in China, said no politician ever.
Right. Well, it's true for all of us individually. It's just that we have the discipline of, at some point, nobody's going to give you any more money. Politicians don't always have that discipline.
Right. I can very, very easily tell you that you should stop eating and lose weight, Bob. But
thank you.
If it's me, this is an analogy. But if it's me who has to be hungry and not eat, it's hard to lose weight. It is hard to lose weight. If you do, we all try, right? But how much you really do it, I stress ate last night big time. My wife made a cake. I think I ate half of it.
I think a lot of this country did. That's another thing that binds us all together, whichever side you're coming down on.
Yeah.
We all stress ate last night.